Hello everyone, welcome back for your daily dose of serotonin. This is part 21 of Lost in Orbit, titled Countryside. Enjoy! Out of all the places Senku could have taken you, an arcade was the last thing to come to mind. The claw machine sways under your grip, gentle, controlled, while arcade music fades into a distant hum. Your pulse drums steadily against your temples. All that exists right now is that star-shaped plushie, you repeat in your head. All right, star-shaped plushie, star-shaped plushie, star-shaped plushie. You've rehearsed this play too many times in your head. The timing, positioning, down to the last millimeter of angle. Senku nods beside you. So subtle you almost miss it in the gloss reflection. You let the claw hover once, gaze sharp, lids barely fluttering closed. Twice, as it reaches the perfect arc of swing. Then, you press the red button. It drops into the swarm, bulldozing surrounding plushies like a tiny mechanical disaster. In your blind excitement, your palms latch onto the nearest warmth. Senku's arm. For the first time, in the last 30 minutes, there's no cloud of doubt in your mind. You've adapted, taken every miscalculation, every failed grab to heart. No way, no way, you chant, as the loose metal stiffens and begins to rise. The claw lifts, star plushie secured, and Senku swaying from your rapid shaking. Like one of those dashboard bubble dolls. Well, will you look at that? He huffs, voice cracking with laughter as you crouch to collect it. Turns out 6 times the charm. You attempt a jab at his knee in response. He dodges, smug, like he calculated that reaction 3 seconds before it happened. Says the guy who's been lurking in the shadows. Where are your plushies, huh? You tease. That a challenge? He shoots back, head tilting slightly. You huff, rising to match his posture. Nope, it's a warning. The perplexed lift of his brow almost makes you laugh, but you keep it together, sassy act still intact. If this is your way of baiting me into playing, he says evenly, it's not working. Yet, his body tells a different story. He's already pushing coins into the slot. 3 turns worth. That's so, you murmur under your breath, eyebrows wiggling deviously. Gradually, he's been pulling you out of that reserved, over-analyzing state of mind, with a compilation of dry jabs you couldn't let slide. His shoulders roll once, eyes scanning the interior like it's a physics equation disguised as plastic joy. The claw jerks to life under his control. Smooth, minimal, no wasted movement. At first, it dips into the pile, but doesn't catch anything. Still the first try. Nothing dramatic yet. Neon lights glaze his pupils in a calculating trance. Focused, sharp, like he's speedrunning probability models in real time. The claw drops again, precise. The machine's music spirals into an anticipatory chant. You were saying? He turns his head toward you, without fully looking away from the glass, confident. It's unfair how impressive he is. This has to be illegal, right? It's the way he just stands there, calm, analytical, like he already knows he's won. Like the outcome bends slightly in his favor the moment he touched the controls. The plush lands cleanly in the chute. Lucky shot, you mumble, cheeks puffing with defeat. The machine buzzes to life again. He doesn't even collect the first win, not when his fingers are already maneuvering the joystick. A few clicks later, the chute thuds again. Hook, line, and sinker. Science, he says, cheekily. You roll your eyes in annoyance. despite the wild smile building on your face. Whatever, you sigh. With relentless, smug taunts, you somehow convince him to duel in Dance Dance Revolution. And it starts messy, a series of desperate stomps thumping to the beat, waists twisting for victory. He wins the first round, fine. But the music gains momentum. Fast and ruthless arrows scroll down the screen. Up, down, left and right, slide, then left, right together, right down together, slide again. That's when the point scale tips in your favor. You hit almost every beat, fiercely, ignoring the searing burn in your chest and how your feet almost catch into each other. There isn't a gap to peek at Senku's screen. But after a brutal final round, you don't need to. The screen flashes. Winner! Player 1! That's you. Senku is hunched slightly, hands braced on his knees, breathing uneven, hair sticking slightly to his forehead. Statistical anomaly, he mutters between breaths. 10 billion% a fluke. Oh, please. You're just mad I optimized faster, you retort. He straightens, pushing his hair back. There's a faint grin there. Rematch after hydrating. He's breathless, but he's laughing. After absolutely obliterating Senku at Dance Dance Revolution, 3-1, you move on to the other games. A robot shooting kind of game, and sleazeball. Eventually, the arcade noise starts bleeding in like a tidal wave. Children screaming, jazz from one cabinet, K-pop from the other, classic rock battling overhead speakers. It's chaotic, overstimulating. The dizzying patterned carpet swirls your vision, but you power through the neon haze, past the idle baby strollers and tables, all the way to the prize redemption line. You'd be picking at your nails if not for Senku. But the light conversation he keeps you trapped in, debating whether novelty keychains are statistically worth it, it keeps you grounded. Still, your sentences sometimes get swallowed by the noise. What did you think about the telescope one? You call out, but he doesn't hear you. There's this thing he does. Slow, effortless. Instinctively, his neck dips to your level. Faint citrus shampoo brushing your senses. It shouldn't feel this natural. Leaning closer so he can hear you. I was just saying the telescope plush is kind of ironic. You repeat near his ear. Considering. He doesn't straighten. Not yet. Yeah? His voice lowers automatically to match yours, gravitating towards your ear in the narrow space. Then we should probably get it. For scientific consistency, he adds. It's not the first time you've been this close. You hum softly, mind drifting to every instance. Shoulders brushing in hallways, hands bumping over tools, standing side by side under cold observatory skies. At some point, proximity stopped feeling like an event. It's just become normal. You watch him at the prize counter, his elbows resting casually on the gloss, quietly calculating ticket-to-value ratios. On the first day, you could barely hold eye contact, and now all you do is look at him. Call it an accident, call it coincidence. Even as you step out of the arcade, your arms brush every few strides. Neither of you moves away. And in Senku's case, he doesn't accept challenges or play along with just anyone. If someone else had teased him at the claw machine, he would have just waved a dismissive hand and left. But he stayed. Outside, the air feels cooler. lighter as cars hum lazily through the countryside traffic. With a deep exhale, Senku's shoulders soften. Inhaling fresh air, not filled with sugar, static, and pizza grease, is weirdly easing. Like, you continue, stepping over a crack in the pavement. I didn't even know we were allowed to leave the facility. I didn't even think there'd be an arcade out here. This part of town isn't secret, more like a tucked away pocket only locals wander into. Senku only found it because one of his telescope calibrations veered off-grid, leading him toward a cluster of warm lights and civilian activity on the outskirts. The Nova activities get repetitive, he says. I've already optimized most of them. You glance at him. It's efficient to look beyond what the system offers, he continues, hands sliding into his pockets. Stuffed animals hook around his belt loops, bobbing around with every step. He came across the town by accident, stayed on purpose. Exploring it broadened his data pool. Different architecture, different people, different problems to solve. You listen closely, half focused on stepping around cracks in the pavement. You're doing it again, that excited, buoyant rhythm to your walk, buzzing with leftover joy. You're telling me the arcade wasn't the most fun thing here? You ask. Fun is subjective, he shrugs. But there are places with higher informational yield. The road narrows as you drift past a busier strip and toward quiet farmland. You notice it first, a playground across a gravel side road, empty swings swaying lazily. Your eyes light up, deviously. Like that playground? You ask. Before he can question it, your fingers hook around his sleeve. Absolutely not, he starts. Too late, you're already dragging him toward it. And despite his muttered protests about structural instability and age-worn bolts, he follows. He'd never admit it. But even if you weren't tugging him along like an overexcited menace, he'd still follow. And that is the end of part 21 of Lost in Orbit, titled Countryside. Buckle up and get ready because the romance is really going to start setting off now. And apologies for any background noise. I am filming later than usual, so it's quite busy at this time. But thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next part, right? Yeah, I'll see you next part. Goodbye.